Yo, though celibacy's exact definition is disputed, I consider a good working definition of celibacy as not having had any form of sexual contact with another person for at least 6 months, self masturbation excluded. Though all virgins are celibate, certainly not all celibates are virgins, quite less than half. Historically, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Shintoism, and Sikhism have strongly opposed premarital sex and therefore stood for premarital celibacy. Popular and relatively new religion, Baha'ism, also supports premarital celibacy. Also, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, and Jainism have had celibate monks for centuries. Quoting 1 Corinthians 7:22-23 from the American Standard of 1901 Bible. I would have you to be free from cares. He that is unmarried is careful for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married is careful for the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and is divided. And this New Testament scripture supersedes the authority of the Old Testament. The Apostle Paul, who wrote this, was celibate at the time, but was probably married and sexually active earlier in life. I personally don't see any spiritual benefits from sexual abstinence and see lack of joy. However, being celibate typically goes hand in hand with singleness. And if you're single, there's a lot of garbage you need not put up with. For example, per statisticbrain.com, 84% of women admitted to using sex to manipulate their man. Many women withhold sex when their men say or do something they don't like, or reward their men with sex when they say or do something they don't mean or have no interest in just to please the women. Many men are treated like yo-yos who then lose their personality and principles. There are even cases where wives refuse to have sex ever again, which leaves the men worse off than they were to begin with, as now they're celibate and tied down to obligations. And sex is a financial drain, as the man is either paying prostitutes, buying things for a girlfriend, or paying his wife's bills. And consider the potential nightmares of alimony and child support payments. Even in good marriages, the man is invariably bound to a list of things he must refrain from saying and doing, and things he's obligated to say and do. Now, say you're a player stud pickup artist. You're single and can get women to have sex with you without funding them in any way. So you hang around in bars and nightclubs for an average of 3 hours a night, then find a woman. How valuable is your time? And you cannot sit in bars or nightclubs for long periods without buying something, or they will kick you out. So you're paying anyway. Then there's a risk of diseases. And the pickup artist is still bound to a list of do's and don'ts that he otherwise wouldn't be in order to please women instead of being himself. Now, we cannot tell if someone is a virgin, non-virgin, celibate, or currently sexually active unless they tell us. And we cannot know the number or gender of sex partners someone had or did not have unless they tell us. And it's evident that sexual experience usually has little impact on one's personality. They're always the same person. Though celibacy does not produce any noticeable health benefits, neither does sexual activity. Quoting the King James Bible's 1 Corinthians 7:27. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. So celibacy is a non-issue as far as dealing with others, or should be. Certain groups of men are extremely likely to be celibate. Homeless men, as few women would want sex with a homeless man. But don't feel sorry for their celibacy, as their much bigger problem is being homeless. That must be addressed first. Then prisoners, as they're locked away from women. But don't feel sorry for criminal celibacy. Prison must be punishment for crime so as to be a deterrent. So criminals must not have the same privileges and rights as they did outside of prison. If they did, they might feel free to do any crime of their choosing, then have taxpayers fund their incarceration while they vegetate. That's why I oppose allowing prisoners conjugal visits, especially since many non-criminal men are forced to be celibate. Forced celibacy is extremely common among physically and mentally handicapped men, as they're rejected by women through no fault of their own. Forced celibacy is also common for men who simply have very different personalities and/or ideologies, as it's part of fallen human nature to reject those who are very different. Then there are elderly men who are celibate due to lack of sex drive and interest due to old age. What does or does not appeal to women appears to be based on arbitrary insanity. Therefore, judging men based on degree of sexual experience or success with relationships is nonsensical. There are websites dedicated to men who identify as incel, abbreviation for involuntary celibacy. They say that sex with prostitutes would not count as a breaking inceldom, only with wives or girlfriends. Pursuing women from a different race or culture is not the solution, as all races and cultures of women have been poisoned. In order to end the incel problem and provide intimate partners for all deserving and qualified men who lack one, we would have to dismantle radical feminism, which causes women to avoid men and become artificial men themselves. But that's not enough, since, as I pointed out, even average men who can attract women are overburdened by women's disagreeableness, since women have gained power. In order to bring back the proper God-given and healthy man-woman relationships for all deserving men, we'd have to even repeal first-wave feminism and enforce the patriarchy with an iron fist. In the meantime, there are numerous websites for celibate men, most of whom claim it's by choice. Whether by choice or not, those who feel they are forced into that situation can perhaps feel camaraderie and encouragement by participating on those sites. I'm celibate myself, so I benefit from avoiding emotional attachment which comes from intimacy, which hurts you when you break up. I need not put up with women's BS and don't have to smell someone's crotch or feet. Catch you later.